Hello people, it is World Championship time nowadays. And here we see the real World Championship, the one and only, the one that matters. Through the ages, Stage 5, upper bracket. These are the standings after 2 games. As we see, everyone is in the range where if it was the 2-player games now, everyone would have that in their own hands still by winning all the 2-player games. Maybe except Vavcinic versus Kushantri, then it would be a tiebreaker. Depend on a tiebreaker, which also depends on their performance, so technically still in their own hands. But it's 3-player games now, and the goal of the 3-player round should be to end up in a situation where I do have it in my own hands, which means less than 4 culture difference towards all the other players. That would be great. I think 2-player games are my strongest suit in Through the Ages, which definitely doesn't mean that I just win all of them. These guys also can play 2-player games, but yeah, on average, I perform there a bit better. And maybe in 3-player games, I don't know actually if 3-player or 4-player rating is better for me. I would guess they are more or less equal. Yeah. I don't have a strong preference between the two. Yeah, anyway, these are the standings. If you wonder why the resolution is like this, it's because I needed to screenshot my own video, because obviously I didn't screenshot it properly before. So there are some resolution losses in the process. Yeah, first game I will show you now is against... Does this work? Yeah. Kushantri on first position and Dantes. I would still call him Dantes on second position. And Kushantri starts with the pyramids. That's an easy choice here. Colossus is here. We can, every time Colossus is in the row, I check if there's a Suez Canal, but there is not. And even if there was, I would still prefer the pyramids in his position. Dantes takes Confucius, very understandably so, and that leaves me with... What do I do here? The Stonehenge and rich land. Yeah. Every time the Stonehenge is involved, I mention that I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I think it's still the best option here. If there was a Suez Canal, I would certainly take the Colossus here. But maybe there's also not the best 2 yellow cards. So that's also an argument here between the two. And in the end, it's also not bad, the Stonehenge. So some people also say Stonehenge with a science leader on top is a bit of a wombo combo. So for example with Confucius or Aristotle, because you are even more free to develop all the H1 technologies. So that's something I have no strong opinion about. Like, I didn't perceive it as such a wombo combo myself, but it doesn't hurt to also listen to other good players once in a while. So I'm looking forward or looking out for this Aristotle, which I very likely will not get. Maybe I'm confusing with another game where I maybe had Aristotle with it. Yeah, but very likely Kushantri will take him here. And then it's a bit, yeah, there are still some leader drops possible, but yeah, not that happy maybe with this row overall. Not the best row for me, I would say. It also can be that he doesn't take Aristotle and focus on other things, but I think here I would definitely more or less always go for Aristotle, yeah. Just take him. You don't even need to elect him. You don't even need to populate in first position, so then EG on top. Yeah. that's the standard turn. Dantes, elects Confucius, and will also go for a standard turn here. Taken in Hanging Gardens, yeah. He had the choice maybe to wait for the Colosseum, although, yeah, I don't think it will be gone if he doesn't take it. Yeah, but between the two wonders, maybe the Hanging Gardens is, yeah, they are maybe similar in value, and he also has maybe the option to skip a wonder. Then we can always look at the H1 wonders. Yeah, it's a decent skip game, not the best. Universitas first is great. Machu Picchu first is kind of good, even though you don't have um, the iron and irrigation tax guaranteed. I think it can still work out as a first wonder, but it's not the best option. Certainly, it's not the best combination of wonders to skip. And the Hanging Gardens is just okay, so I would also probably take it here. I take Ashoka here. Yeah, I mean, oh, I think I remember what I do. I don't. It's not a good Ashoka game somehow because there's no color here in the row yet. I don't want to play Caesar in this position at all. I think I'm not even playing Ashoka. Yeah, or yeah, for that one row. There is a color. There's Barbarossa. So yeah, it's one rock. It's a bit sad because it's also expensive and I don't get to build the mine. Ashoka produces that rock that I'm missing, but it's still, yeah, two civil actions that I pay here now for leader. But I think it's, yeah, I'm actually not that unhappy with this. There's a court of law in the row, but paying three civil actions for that here, I don't know what my turn then is. Then I play without a leader. I don't assume that Frederick Barbarossa would have reached me. He will be on one civil action for Dantes, and I would always take Barbarossa in hand with this setup. You can play Confucius for a while, and then Barbarossa is extremely good with Hanging Gardens. So yeah, I think that's fine. I think the alternative of taking Code of Laws and building the mine, I did consider that, but I think that's worse. Then I would be very dependent on a leader drop. And yeah, also not the best combination of leaders, and one is already gone then, so that can be very bad. I think if I would see another leader here, I would very much consider that other play of Code of Laws and mine. Like this, I had to do this, I think. It was forced. Two food is revealed, Krishan preceded an event. What? I somehow, yeah. I quickly needed to check if I even record. Okay, Kshantri, yeah, seeds an event, reveals two foods, increases the population, builds a lab, elects Aristotle, and takes a breakthrough. Ignores this code of laws for two civil actions. Yeah, maybe he had another play here where he doesn't build the philosophy and just take code of laws instead. And then you can also rush the pyramids. Looking at this on a whim, I would say that turn would be better than building this philosophy. Maybe I'm missing something. Yeah, it would also not take the breakthrough. It does have good value, certainly, but yeah, maybe he hopes he gets one of those. But I would assume that he doesn't get one of those. Code of Laws or Iron. Then he gets a copy of Swordsman. Swordsman are always, yeah, pretty. I feel like the World Championship meta is more or less building four swordsmen as soon as you can, and then hoping to get this Great Wall, which is in the game. So especially when the Great Wall is in the game, then that's yeah, also a valuable tech here. Dante's Seeds, Development of Craft revealed, takes iron. builds a lab, has to populate or build a stage of the one he has to, he populates to get out of corruption. And yeah, between Code of Laws and Iron, he took Iron, which I think is in a vacuum. Maybe not the correct choice, but if we look at this, it is. Because the second Iron also dropped. And having access to early Iron is just super good. Having no access to Iron is just really bad for your winning outs, I think. Of course, there's 2 copies of coal, and they are not contested then. But if they are back in the deck, I don't know. Even if you get your 3 coals running towards the end of H2, there's no what to change the equation a bit. But yeah, even then, I feel like that early iron starts just way better than the late coal in most cases. Yeah, so here I completely understand his iron choice, which means I will probably not get iron. But I get the Code of Laws for 1 civil action here, and yeah, at least with Barbarossa you are maybe not that dependent on that iron. And here we see, since there was food revealed and rocks revealed, I have corruption issues, which I can probably only solve if I do something like this. Yeah, this doesn't feel too great, honestly. I had to build 2 warriors with Barbarossa. Take swordsman in hand. Yeah, but as I said, more or less what I see more or less every game is people trying to get like 3 or 4 swordsmen. Yeah, preferably, of course, with a tactic, with an according tactic, then taking this great wall, and the position is very, very solid. You have offensive options, very hard to go offensive against you. And on the back of that, you can play H2 at ease. So, not really happy with the turn here, but maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not that bad. Of course, it would be way better to actually build swordsmen at once and not warriors and then upgrade them. That wastes military actions like crazy, but there was just no option. There was no way. I think that was the only way to solve corruption. I could maybe play the call to arms and hope for some event, but I decided against it because with some events I could not even solve corruption in any way. So yeah, Kushantri builds the pyramids, populates, and um, yeah, also it's still to get out of corruption, and takes the swordsman. Yeah, and interestingly, he doesn't take the iron here. So maybe it was just not, yeah, if he wants to build the pyramids, yeah, it was just also very ugly probably for him, or maybe just outright impossible to solve corruption, to avoid corruption if he took iron. So that's that. Yeah, it's not the end of the world, but it's also, for the reasons I said earlier, not preferable to miss out on that, especially very early iron. Later iron is also, again, a bit different in the equation. Dante's, yeah, seeded with Confucius, he always seeds something. Then upgrades an iron, builds a stage of hanging gardens. Rebuilds the fighting band. Here we see, by the way, the Great Wall. Maybe also he already saw it. And it was part of the equation of really wanting to finish this wonder, to be able to get this in hand, then together with the swordsman. So yeah, that is very coherent. I will not get it. I think that is impossible. Development of settlement. I did see the call to arms now. Build a lab, build 2 stages, develop code of laws, take iron. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely decent here. And that was one of the instances where the Stonehenge is actually super good. So it helped me to get the code of laws out now, and it will help me to develop the iron next turn, or if necessary swordsman, but I would be very surprised if I didn't rush this iron then. Maybe it doesn't help me because something will be missing, but maybe some event can make up for that, which is missing. So either I will not have enough rocks or signs, so I would need some rocks. This rich end would have been awesome, but that wasn't possible. I draw 2 cards, and there's Crusades and Good Harvest. Kushantri opens the development of planning, and we can quickly take a look at what that is as warriors, trade routes, and settlement. Oh no, that was the earlier warriors, and settlement is the earlier. Yeah, okay. It's religion, trade routes, and science, and that probably means that I can go for iron in one way or the other. Just means that I can't take the religion. No, but sometimes that might be correct. He indeed does go for the Great Wall, have this 3 swordsmen, and that does look decent. Still gets irrigation. Aristotle offers good value with the wombo combo, the pyramids wombo combo. That's a good spot, I think, to be. Yeah, with the counterweight of missing out on the iron. Yeah, there are some instances, of course, where you get the timely access to the coal, and then he's ahead, actually. Then if you get this coal timely and, I don't know, can also upgrade it decently, then that position is super good. So we will have to look out for that. Dantes reveals the call to arms, which I seeded, and I am the weakest player. Yeah, maybe it was a bit questionable to seed it, but yeah, maybe even losing those 2 civil actions is not entirely the end of the world. Yeah, I don't know. I would have go back to really evaluate the reasoning for seeding versus not seeding. It's always a bit hard for me in this retrospect to really grasp all the reasons behind it. Don't have the best memory regarding that, especially at the start of the game. But generally, seeding is pretty desirable to have some information here to open some developments which can improve your turn, and then taking some risk can be okay. And then, yeah, this is not an uncertain borders, which is really, really bad in the long run. A call to arms can be very mean in some terms, but maybe if you have Barbarossa, it's okay to lose it sometimes, and I don't think I lose it in all the cases. It was the first event here now, so I think that was a reasonable bet. Dantes chooses Saladin already. The civil action should be better than the science per turn in most cases. Upgrades a mine, and yeah, choose the civil action here. Doesn't bother being the weakest after his turn, which indicates this is 2-2. Yeah, which indicates that he didn't see the strength event, but Kushantri might have seeded one, so maybe he had some information about those things. But then again, yeah, the cost of not taking the civil actions is so high that I would also, in most cases, just gamble for it and take the civil action. Raiders revealed. Yeah, getting the 2 strength wouldn't have changed that. He would still be one of the 2 weakest. And yeah, this is actually pretty annoying. I think I lost the 2 food. This is an annoying Raiders. Pretty annoying Raiders. I did take the religion after all, and decide to wait with the iron upgrade. Maybe I can't really do it without the civil actions. Maybe it's a hard question anyway, if skipping the religion is ever worth it. Sadly, sometimes, but who knows. So yeah, the Raiders timing was also pretty annoying because maybe after the turn I could be strongest if I went for swordsman, and then again going for the swordsman early before I get the iron going might also be questionable. So yeah, I still take the warfare in hand. There could also be reserves here, but I like the warfare as the Republic option, and also just as generally an option, not only for the Republic, but it's generally a pretty decent card in 3-player, 4-player games. Not the irrigation though, could also be an option here. I am one of the 2 strongest now. Yeah, maybe Dantes is a bit sad for not taking the strength, but then again, the civil action is also maybe worth 2 rocks or something. It's just that one of us would not get them, so yeah. It's still the correct decision he did in my book. But I'm happy to see the foray. I didn't have information about that, obviously. Aristotle gets the Code of Laws here for 1 civil action, which is pretty good. Develops it. He also gets the Masonry. Yeah, Aristotle doing work here. Creates a lot of signs for him, and he can actually build 2 stages of the Great Wall, populate probably, get out of corruption with an upgrade here, and still have enough rocks to finish the Great Wall next turn. So yeah, that is some good turns for him here. It's maybe a bit sad that he doesn't get the alchemy like this, but if I see the turn like this, I would definitely do it too. There will be another copy of the alchemy he might get. What I don't really like is, and he was in that situation already in the 4-player game, is to be on +2 signs, and then he doesn't have iron, so he will need coal and scientific method to fix that. Universitas will not be an option, it will be gone. And then there's the Harvard College, that is an option to fix that issue. Aside from scientific method, yeah. But having these 2 construction sites, I don't know if that term makes any sense in English. It's Baustellen. In German, it makes a lot of sense. Having these 2 issues with your civilization, in my book, feels pretty bad going into H2. And yeah, having this +2 science also feels really bad. So maybe there's a turn where he takes alchemy and still fixes corruption somehow, and still is able to, build the Great Wall next turn, or it delays the Great Wall by a turn, which is also not that bad. He's strongest anyway. Yeah, so that's the one issue I can find here. Other than that, looking really great. Dantes takes the alchemy for 1 civil action and goes for it. 2 upgrades. I think that's a really great timing for that. Takes a cultural heritage on top. Could also maybe finish the wonder and take this wonder, but I don't know if it would fix corruption. This extra food also always produces corruption issues, then it's so awkward in a lot of cases. If you don't have, it's like made for Barbarossa. But if you don't have him, it's kind of hard to fix corruption sometimes. And with that play, he would make the alchemy rare. We both want it still, so he wouldn't be. There's also the second copy, so yeah, he wouldn't be dependent on it, but it would be a very nice play for him to get it still. But that's out of the window. We already see the alchemy. It would also be unlikely probably, but yeah, totally agree with this here. And there's a scientific breakthrough even, maybe at the, he definitely did have the information. The event should be his. So I go for iron here, upgrade once, take the university and upgrade once again. I have such weird orders in my turns sometimes when I watch this. It's like, I have like, what am I doing? So weird. Upgrade once, then I take the wonder and upgrade again. Yeah, okay. It's to stay unreadable. Weinbaum, I think, said once that careful viewers could deduce some things about him by the order of the turns he has sometimes. I honestly, maybe I don't watch enough of his videos, or maybe I'm just, it goes over my head, but I don't really know what he means by that. But I know one thing for certain, no one can deduce anything about my civilization by the order of the turns because it is random. I can guarantee it to you. It is just random. I have one final state I will find in a most random possible way. I assume. So yeah, there's also warriors still. Some efficiency with H1 civil actions maybe. Although maybe it wasn't really necessary. Maybe I'm a bit afraid of rats that which I haven't seen. I would guess that's more of an argument. I'd rather vast territory there, which is kind of nice because I do have Barossa and a good tactic to bid. So it can be an option to seed that. Chantre takes Columbus for 2, which might indicate that he already has a good territory in hand. And or is willing to gamble a bit for an H2 territory. It's always a very good bet, maybe, if you find an early H2 territory, that is a pretty good thing. He would have also good leaders, or a good leader in Nostradamus available here, but yeah, he's not dependent on the 3 defensive strength at all. He will be strongest here. So it would only be 3 culture per turn in information, which is still good, but I guess Columbus is a good bet. It just costs 1 more civil action, and also it also feels already a bit like he doesn't get this alchemy, or does he still get it? No. Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of value here. Yeah. But he doesn't get the alchemy. For all the reasons that I explained, I don't really enjoy going into H2 with this, with the 2 construction sites here. Dantes reveals the naval trade agreement. Is it naval trade? Naval whatever agreement. I don't even know the name of that. Warfare for 2 civil actions, so it's a bit expensive maybe. Yeah, good cards here, but he just wants to go for it. Yeah, okay. He needs also military actions, maybe, to defend aggressions. So understandable. He does have good science. Will still be able to just get an H2 government after this turn. He will still have 12 signs. Maybe Code of Law, the Dark Ages also a consideration to get rid of some signs. Yeah, finishes the Hanging Gardens and does take strength on top, which might indicate he just doesn't have defense cards. Without the strength, he's on 4 and would need 2 defense cards to defend an aggression. It probably indicates that, and that's the safe play. Can look at this. I don't know. In a one-on-one, I would probably not do that. And by that reasoning, maybe also not here. Because Kushan only has 2 military actions available. And H2 will start. So playing that aggression is very expensive. And even if you lose, like this is super good. Even if you lose 1 plunder, 1 enslave, I think it's fine. And also it's not even guaranteed that he will try it, because he has seen many cards. He can just bluff if he doesn't have that. He can just bluff the 2 defense cards. So I think that's very costly. And it doesn't make him not weakest. So yeah, I think that cost is not reasonable here. That civil action will be worth a lot. And losing that aggression is not the end of the world. On the flip, 2H2. I would probably not even try it. No, 9 to 4. Yeah, 2 defense cards defend. After the warfare, obviously. So, yeah, not really. I think, yeah, that's overcautious. Where the territory revealed, Dantes doesn't bid, which also further indication that he doesn't have defense cards. But yeah, the other guys don't know that. um, and also after this territory, an aggression would be out of the window anyway, at least since Kushantri does win it. I only can bid, or am only willing to bid one warrior. It was a consideration to go for 2 warriors and get this, but it felt like, yeah, especially after having ceded the vast territory, maybe it's a bit questionable to pay the 2 warriors and I don't have extra food income. Barbarossa, yeah, is extremely food efficient, but without the extra food income, yeah, I think it feels bad to bid 2. But I did consider it. In the end, I decided against it. So what are we doing here? Probably just upgrade iron, take EG, maybe play the warfare. Some efficient way to get strongest, yeah. Take the breakthrough. Yeah, something like that. Since I have this, I'm fine with missing out on the alchemy. And there might be a lot of reasons why scientific method is pretty good here, as Bill Gates and Sid Meier. That's plenty reasons, especially Bill Gates. If you have the scientific method setup and you get an early Bill Gates, you kind of win the game more or less pretty often. Maybe that's also part of the consideration for him, why he didn't pay attention to his alchemy too much. Yeah, but then again, I repeat, for me personally, I don't like this. I need to still build coal and scientific method. So I would have taken it at some point. Oh, I have something. I need to pause. So yeah, this is my turn. Draw 2 aggressions, which are probably not the best draw. Kshatri does seed, even though he is not strongest, so it might indicate that, yeah, either he's willing to gamble on not reaping the benefits of a potential border conflict or uncertain borders, or it's not in there. Makes it less likely that it's in there, because he will easily be strongest again after his turn. He does get a very early Conmon, which is a good option for him. He has a lot of civil actions already, but no military actions. But it's very science costly here. He can set up a revolution, presumably. And yeah, he does get strongest again. Developed territories revealed, and I'm very happy to get it for a warrior in the card here. That's very cheap. Dante's not willing to bid, further indicating he has no colonization, no defense card. Yeah, being 2 warriors for that. I think the developed territory is often worth 2 warriors in my book. But here it comes with a cost. But again, as of now, Kushantri just doesn't have MA. He can't really punish him that well. I love his next turn if he goes for the revolution or just goes for Napoleon here. He will have MA, and then it does feel bad. Yeah. I'm happy that's very cheap for a warrior, the developed territory. Super good. Now this goes for the Himeji Castle here. He has had a very early iron. He will have 10 rocks after his turn, so That's a very good option. Gets out of corruption and he chooses to strength again. And yeah, that's perpetually expensive. Yeah. I choose to take breakthrough for 2 and build the wonder. There's a scientific method on 3. An important card, and I was not too happy to see that because I think, yeah, what Christianity can do now is just go for this scientific method and fix that science problem, and then go for the conman later conventionally. The scientific method is one of his construction sites. I will just keep using that term, although it's probably not in the sense of how the Germans use it as the term Baustelle is like more like not the literal construction site, but something that needs fixing. Yeah, that's probably it. Hmm. Yeah, and I thought, yeah, going for scientific method, then also Napoleon or even the cannon already. Yeah, yeah, that's what I was afraid of actually. Scientific method, cannon, Napoleon in hand, upgrade the scientific method. 2, 4, 6, yet 6, 2. Yeah, okay, then ignore Napoleon. Those 2 cards upgrade the scientific method. Be able to, if you draw a tactic, fulfill that tactic. Yeah, let's say details are not that important. The center piece would be to go for the scientific method. I think that looks awesome. I mean, the revolution looks also awesome, but then it's again 2 plus 2. It's close to the rage quit scenario that I told you about with my former co-player on TTA Pulse. I would have to play alone if I played like this, which did happen sometimes. I had to finish games alone. um, yeah, but of course I understand this. Revolution also looks good. It also looks good. Immigration revealed by Dantes, and I also have one of the 2 highest happy face counts. I'm certain that was a sentence. Does get architecture, builds the Imagi castle. Yeah, has no access to the cannons. Can't afford to build to spend 3 civil actions for selective breeding, but also probably doesn't have to. Chantry already has the irrigation, so yeah. Architecture is a pretty good card. And he will still have enough science to get the government going, which he really desperately needs. This time he decides, okay, after the castle, he decides to take the civil action. I get an access to a very early Nobel, and I think that's a reasonable pick. I don't have the best setup for any of those leaders. Yeah, Gaudi can work very well. Napoleon can work well in some scenarios, but it's not here. And yeah, he's just here. I think he has a good value. 2 selections for an early Nobel. Barbarossa doesn't do anything anymore. Even if I get food now, then I still need happy faces to still use him. So yeah, that's probably an easy decision. And cannon, scientific method, also not the selective breeding, also looks important, but yeah. We actually did draw here this fortification last turn. So can go for that. And the plan is to send 2 warriors to the vast territory that I seeded. So that's that. Fighting band revealed by Kushantri. He is the strongest. And yeah, in the next deck it can be relevant again. In this deck it was indicated that it's probably not that relevant. He upgrades. He has a lot of civil actions now. He has a good row also for him, I think, for the amount of civil action. It's efficient upgrade, revolutionary idea, and EG. Can maybe consider to, since it's this cheap, to just take the Celebrate as a hate draft. One of us will not get food income, but there's an ocean liner, so yeah, it's just a side note. Can consider those things. There's a red cross also in the deck, but this turn worked out really nicely here, taking all these yellow cards, and yeah, that is mighty. That is, he does have this coal issue or rock income issue, but he does have a lot of civil actions now, and with access to a lot of yellow cards, that can be easily overcome and sometimes just played like this towards the end of the game. And he copies the fighting band now, making the strongest. Yeah, interestingly, he hasn't colonized territory yet. He probably has one in hand, but maybe not the best. We have seen the vast territory. Wait, is gone. Developed is gone, so maybe he only has one of those. If he had the inhabited territory, I don't know if it would have improved the turn. So even if he has the inhabited, he can still just wait. As long as he doesn't see a good opportunity to get another leader anyway, he can just wait and hope for an H2 territory. Darwin is being elected by Dantes, and now he will probably go for this Republic. Yes, that is a very good drop for him, and then he can still take the Ocean Liner service, which is super good. Okay, he will miss out on, or will he also get the Celebrate? No. Yeah, like this he will miss out on selective breeding, but yeah, with an Ocean Liner you can miss out on the attack. It doesn't feel too great, because at some point you might need to build agricultures then. Yeah, but still pretty good, I would say. Now he did build 2 warriors, which makes it impossible to build a warrior. I'm not sure if that's not again a bit overly cautious. Yeah, but if he otherwise couldn't defend an aggression, maybe understandable. Not entirely certain. Maybe a bit too cautious, but I don't know. I get the navigation on 1 civil action here for 1 civil action. I do have this compound available for 3. But apparently I'm not going for that. Sorry. And yeah, navigation is good since I have this vast territory there. Don't have any colonization cards. It would be nice to really be able to at least compete for that properly. Maybe there's some other random colonies in there. Take Celebrate, take Rifleman, take Opera. So it's one of those turns where I just create options for the future. I wasn't really forced into playing those swordsmen, and getting Rifleman is just always so much better because it enables H3 tactics. The Opera enables Dietrich options. Yeah, the other things I just need. Rifleman, selective reading I just need. I mean, that turn is also a bit slow, but if it does win me the vast territory, I am kind of happy with that. If it doesn't, it's a bit questionable maybe. Yeah, if it doesn't win me the vast, plus not even any other territory, then it's a bit questionable. It's a bit slow then. I didn't take the Conmon for 3. I think it might still be there. I might just prefer the Republic. And there were just so many good cards here. Yeah. Not clear. I'm not entirely certain if this is some players I play with. Training sessions, and also just old friends who don't play that much anymore, but we still talk about the game sometimes. They point out that I often have this, where I have a lot of cards in hand, and they never do that. Yeah, but I like to create options for myself in some turns. There's a cost to it. It cannot like be completely optimal in some sense if you turn out to not play some of the cards. Yeah, if this opera is still in my head at the end of H2 and just gets discarded, then it had a significant cost to create that option. But yeah, the flip side of that is that I can be very reactive with these things in hand. And in game states where I think I'm doing fine and I just want to react to what my opponents do, that's the upside. So maybe in some other sense it can be optimal to create those options. But yeah, that's something I do that other players don't do that much, I think. At least some of my friends don't really like those hands. The rebellion is revealed and Dantes has one unhappy worker. It's not the end of the world, but always feels bad to lose some civil actions. So Krishantri, yeah, didn't get scientific method. He does have to take this Harvard now to fix this issue. And it does fix a lot of his issues. And I think he can be very happy that this Harvard is here, where it is. Just goes for it immediately. And that's obviously super good. The Harvard College, with a lot of civil actions, is just a very good wonder. And yeah, going to +5 sides income here makes the game playable. Then now he also has this chance of getting an early computer, maybe paired with the Bill Gates, which would be extremely good for him. But yeah, we see the call is somewhat late, but in this situation I would also, even if it was on one civil action, I would still make sure to first do this Harvard College. So let's say in this specific turn, it doesn't matter if the call is there or not, but I do think he wants to hope that it's there next turn, which is super likely. It's already somewhat unlikely that's not here yet, but yeah. Does take an efficient upgrade in hand, which is good. Here's 2 efficient upgrades for the coal upgrades. And the cannon also for one selection, which is obviously a bit scary with this Great Wall. The defensive army, no one wants to see it. No one wants to play against Great Wall swordsman, 4 swordsmen into defensive army. That's just too good. Just the system. Yeah, I mean, Dantes had a lot of science, and he has a pretty scary civilization also. I think his one issue is this food here. It would have been a lot nicer if he could finish this wonder now, right? But yeah, he didn't have access to all the yellow cards. I guess Kushantri has position in that regard on him. Now he gets still the breakthrough, plays cultural heritage. Now has 15 rocks. Next turn, the ocean liner will be built, most likely. I see it, sadly missed what. I reveal a historic territory and win it for 1 warrior. I am kind of happy with that actually. Sometimes the historic territory is even not worth 1 warrior, but here I would think it is. I have a transition tactic a tactic to transition to in fortification. And the happy face does something, the 6 culture does something, so yeah, I'm happy with this. I do go for the Republic and can upgrade scientific method twice here, which is super good. So +10 science income going into H3, and I'm very happy with this setup. Yeah, to repeat the arguments, especially Big 8s. It's not the best Sid Meier setup, really feels bad to go then from +10 science to +4? Oh no, 6. Yeah. They produce 4 and then I still have this. But still significant. pretty significant. So it's also not the most significant culture income. And you get the third one out, it's okay, but yeah. Sid Meier, it is possible in some situations, but he feels a lot better with computers. And with Bill Gates, doesn't make the biggest difference, I would say. It's Bill Gates, getting him here would feel yeah, amazing. Still get the wave of nationalism, a valuable card. Draw even another tactic, that could be an option to go for this. Has some arguments for it. I mean, it requires me to still get the cavalry out, which is a cost. And then again, I don't play a tactic that he might also transition to. I mean, with the four swordsmen and yeah, not like infinite food and people available, transitioning from this to the fortifications, yeah, that would more or less require winning some colony that enables that. But still, it is an option. It is an option to also go for this. It's also, if you go for this, you organically build for more H3 tactic options. That's also maybe an important argument. Kashantri finally gets a coal, even for one civil action. And then, yeah, H2 did work out quite well for him with the timing of the wonder, and then the call after that. Maybe it could have worked out even better. I don't know. I think in the end, he can be pretty happy with the civilization going into H3. There would even, I kind of thought it was gone, but there would even still be the option of taking the scientific method, but he doesn't deem it worthy enough. He maybe does think getting this early computers or early to mid computers is a way better option than this scientific method. I mean, I get it. If he spends this 2 civil actions for scientific method now, it does have a huge cost. Like, I don't know exactly what he would lose. At least this frugality, right? And then something else. Maybe an upgrade. Maybe the leader. But yeah, he would pay it. Then he sees an early computer on 2 or 3. And it's kind of awkward. You still go for that computer or not? Because then, yeah, of course, the computers do have even without the leaders, are a lot better than the scientific method. So yeah, understandable from my perspective. He doesn't elect Maria Theresa here, which might indicate something. Maybe he just wanted to be very efficient then with the frugality, get some extra value out of her food activations, but he misses out on the rock part for one turn, which might just be one rock. So yeah, it might indicate an iconoclasm, but there's also reasons to just do it like this without an iconoclasm in the deck. Dante's Seeds reveals the vast territory, and I'm not able to win it. I can bid 8, which is, I think, a pair and a card. Do I have a card? I think yes. But Gishantri is willing to bid 2 swordsmen and 2 cards, which is 9. And yeah, that enables him to transition to another tactic. So I have to be somewhat careful to just, I don't really want to reveal this fortifications too early. To let him know, okay, just go and build your cannons and play the most efficient tactic with the Great Wall. And then that also maybe is an argument to go for this instead. Dantes finishes the Ocean Liner. Takes Richland, takes reserves for 3 over Urban Growth for 2, but maybe he's a bit afraid militarily. Urban Growth doesn't do anything militarily. Yeah, actually it does. Maybe he also still takes that. Yeah, just all the rocks he could get. Yeah. Yeah, but no, like here I would I think in many cases just take this opera in hand. He also even has architecture and enables Dietrich. No other leader, but enabling Dietrich is a lot of argument, and also the opera itself is just within architecture. It's pretty efficient. That would mean leaving the reserves here, but the reserves 2 for 3 civil actions really also doesn't feel that great. So I would probably always take this opera here in hand. Maybe even plan to go for it, regardless of access to Dietrich or not, almost. I see it. I missed again. What? But you will see it at some point. The knowledge of the engines have been revealed. I can finally go for the selective breathing upgrades. Take Cavalryman in hand to enable, yeah, maybe this. Maybe all the H3 tactics. I really love this. Having just these 3 options of H2 techs in hand is always very desirable for me. Every H3 tactic draw drastically increases your military potential. This is why I also don't like to build H1 military that much. I think it's so much better if you get away with not building it, which I did in this game. Then you can skip that and already enabled H3 tactic options. Take urban growth for 3 here. Yeah, we see there's a bit of a rock issue here, and all the rocks we can get from the row are pretty valuable. And yeah, in the end, I decide to get rid even of the mobile artillery and rely on this fortification. I am strongest right now, and I'm not really in a position to play military build-up anyway here. Play offensive. It's kind of hard to explain, but I felt like it's a bit too expensive to really set up for this HP tactic, and I think the approach that is more likely I want to play here is just to play a bit greedy but defend, and that's a good setup for that. And in that setup, I just hold the tactic in hand until I need it and don't play it offensively. And that's why this tactic over mobile artillery. Yeah, we draw a lot of colonization cards here, which is nice. Maybe there was another territory that I ceded. I don't really know. Sadly, maybe there was another territory by them. What did Kashantri actually get? Okay, first of all, there is this iconoclasm, perfectly timed. It does hurt here for both of us to lose a leader, and he gets that leader now. And he did get the wealthy too, which is okay. I consider it often to be very valuable, even comparably valuable to the other options. And at some point this disappears. Okay, but I don't have the patience for that. Are we in turn 13? Not really. Yeah, we are. Is it only 16 turns? Yeah, this didn't work out. Snide spoiler said, yeah, what is this? No. No, it's correct? Not really. We skipped his turn. Didn't I check this? And it said round 13? This doesn't work at all. Okay, but now I think we are correct. We see the iconoclasm. We missed that there was a vast territory colonized. Maybe you didn't miss it, but I missed it. Um, yeah, he goes for Teresa. That's obviously super nice for him. Killing off the two H2 leaders. Goes for cannons. I think we didn't see the defensive army. This doesn't help actually. Yeah, but I think we didn't see it. There's still an option that he has it. Takes opera and builds an opera. So Dantes reveals prosperity, and here we see a pretty timely computers drop, which makes it a bit less of a problem that he lost Darwin. He can just go for computers and Sid Meier at once. Just takes it in hand now. Instead of playing it. Was there any compelling reason to not elect the science income? Yes. Yeah, okay, you wanted one round of the science income, maybe for specific reasons that I don't see at once, but yeah, would be 6 culture for 2 science. Oh, okay. He also wanted to build a cavalryman still. I just didn't wait until the end of the turn. Get strongest there. Historic territory revealed. Might be that I seeded that actually. Might be not. And I get it super cheaply. So I would say the navigation has paid itself already. Big time. I even had some cards here, but that's not guaranteed. And yeah, I was able to make him build 2 swordsmen here, which is expensive. And now I did get the historic territory too, which is super good. It's if we look at the civilizations, this I think we are all kind of equal in income. He did get this computers now, which is a bit scary with Sid Meier. But economy wise, overall, it's very similar, but there is some small culture lead for me. I don't have culture income yet, but neither do they. He only has 1 opera so far. And here I get access to an engineering, which I'm super happy with. I didn't get access to architecture, or yeah, didn't want to spend the civil actions for that when it was possible. There was other things more important, apparently. So I get this engineering, which I'm happy with because it enables me to also build these buildings more efficiently. And I do go for an opera with an grove for only 2 rocks. There's a Kubatar in the row, but I don't have the option for that. And taking that is too risky. Then you can just get hate drafted, and you will get hate drafted here in it. If they, yeah, and in many cases, it will be worth it for them. He more or less needs, oh, well, yeah, doesn't really need it, but towards the end of the game, sometimes you still want the pro spot, just 1 pro spot. Yeah, it's just such a good tech. It's not that much of a cost to hate draft it, and he will definitely take it if he gets his hands on it. So yeah, this Kubota is not really a good option here. The best option for me is the Gates or Dietrich. That would be the 2 best options by far. And I would be happy about both of them. I still get reserves and this EG. Chantry reveals freedom of movement. Takes Hollywood here. It's quite expensive, but he has the selections for that. He already has 2 operas. It's a decent payoff, especially if he gets his hand on Dietrich. Maybe an H3 government will be expensive, but yeah, if he somehow gets the H3 government on top, then he can also go to 4 operas. Maybe he also takes a multimedia. Yes, that's also an option to improve the Hollywood. If the game stays super civil, doesn't go in the military direction, then he has a scary endgame setup here already. And he does have the economy with the masonry. Yeah, not the best tech for these, but still, with this economy, you can build 1 of those per turn. Yeah, and that can get scary towards the end of the game. he also had the extra rocks from Maria Teresa and builds another cannon. Doesn't get this rev idea for one. Doesn't have the best science income, so this is a very valuable card, but yeah, his turn looks super coherent, so understandable that he didn't get it, didn't take it. Dantes reveals emigration and is punished because he has two unhappy workers. That does hurt even with an Ocean Liner. Elects Sid Meier, and then this is also scary actually. 3 computers, 12 culture income. Still decent science income. That is a super good setup, and we can look at this. There's also an internet in the game, and this is already a huge internet without anything else. So yeah, looks like it's going into a civil direction, and looks like they both have pretty decent endgame scenarios for themselves in that direction. Now it's curious to see if he gets the second copy of multimedia, because if he does, then I don't have the best late game civil options. If they start to just build these now, he can also, yeah, he doesn't have the most rock income, but there's still some rocks also lying around here. So yeah, if he also takes that in hand, I think I'm a bit sad. Then I have to think about, do I have to start some military pressure after all? Or can I compete with just this? And maybe a democracy and 4 operas, also not that bad. Maybe then I'm really not that happy about Gates anymore and need to hope for Dietrich. Difficult. He takes the democracy. He has a lot of science, so he can afford it. Yeah, but I don't know if he has to spend 2 civil actions for that. He takes military build-up, very reasonable. Reserves, rev idea, very reasonable. And place the reserves too. He doesn't take the multimedia. Yeah, which I think I'm super happy about, to have this option. I would, yeah, I consider this a big mistake from my perspective to leave that for me and not to take that for himself. Of course, with the democracy and another opera, another computer, you could argue that there's no way, anyway, that he can still build a multimedia, and then it's like wasted value. But I think taking that option away is huge here. Then I would be a bit desperate, in despair, for the reasons I explained. And like this, I just have access to it. I'm very happy with that. So from my perspective, it looks a bit questionable. I don't have all the information available. Yeah, I do take it in hand, and I actually built one. Super happy with that. Also, the science income is still relevant. Like this, I can also, in the other scenario, it would be more or less impossible. I would still need to go for computers, but like this, I can also compete for impact of science, which is not that unlikely. If he has it, he would see it, I think. Take reserves, take another reserves. Yeah, that's super good turn. Can take a military build up in hand. I have yeah, a lot of options here to defend myself or to play greedy. This is now looking super good, I would say. If we look at this. But then again, it's also looking good for them. Yeah, maybe if I don't get access to the internet, it looks a bit spicy. Then again, he has this super big late game payoff in hand. He could have another big late game payoff in hand. And then I'm stuck with fast food chains. Red cross is in the deck. So I'm well set up to go for that red cross. Yeah, yeah. Still, I think I still get my culture income. I have a small lead, so yeah, towards the end of the game, I was like, reasonably confident I'm in a good position, but definitely far from, yeah, certain that I'm ahead here. And that is maybe a bit surprising. I really didn't have that on the horizon, but I am, as I mentioned, reasonably well set up to even defend this. I mean, it also depends how much he can master. He actually skipped the first copy of Modern Infantry, which made me think, yeah, okay, he had other things to do. But I found it interesting. It made me think that he already has maybe even the defensive territory, defensive territory. What else? The defensive army. Um, because otherwise I would have valued this modern infantry in his position a lot for the H3 tactic options. Now he does take it. And upgrades. No, he builds modern infantry. Wait, what? Yeah, okay. Apparently that's his highest strength potential because he has the H3 tactic, the entrenchments, the two cannon, one warrior. Now I'm a bit confused because it's four warrior, two cannon. You could also build two cannon, but then you would have only, yeah, it would be a little less strength potential, but it would be a bit mm, better set up for the next war, maybe for a possible next war, because this smells like, so this war of attack, this smells like that he already has a follow-up war, because towards the end of H3 this war of attack is more or less always just a setup war, maybe to steal the option of going for air forces from an opponent. And you can only really do that if you already have a war of a culture in hand, and even then it's a bit expensive to not draw cards anymore. Yeah, I am a bit confused about the two modern infantry versus he could build two cannons and reveal the tactic, but then it would be too here the older versions. What is the word? What? I'm veraltet. Yeah, outdated. Outdated. Yeah, the two outdated versions. And it would probably mean, since yeah, modern infantry is more cost efficient, some less strength. Yeah. And then again, set up a little better for the next possible war, maybe. But maybe it also makes no difference for that setup. So yeah, just a bit confused about this uh, cross thing here. Yeah, but of course not happy to see that I'm the target. This is always, yeah, in Germany we say, wenn zwei sich streiten, freut sich der Dritte. This is very good for Dantes, first and foremost. If two guys hit each other, third one is like happy about that. It's a very good example of this. Then again, he can't just start to be super greedy here. He also has to get himself into a position where he can defend a follow-up war. Gets pro spots, builds that, takes the rev idea, doesn't take this patriotism, plays reserves, builds a cavalryman, uses Richland to build a farm. We'll have to do that at some point. Yeah. So he has a military build-up and 9 rocks, but it's not that many rocks, and considering that it's screaming like there will be a follow-up war, I think this patriotism looks giga important. Yeah, maybe he didn't have those 3 civil actions, but it feels like he did. And I am very happy to, first of all, offer a bit of a tourism. Um, I benefit a lot from that pact actually. I mm, probably wouldn't have accepted it in his position, but I still tried it to offer it, and I also thought it can be a reasonable decision. So I get 3 culture already this turn, and he gets 2. I only have 2 wonders. We can see that after. No, we can't see that now. Ah, okay, we can kind of see that. I have 2 wonders. He has 3, so I get this extra 3 income once, and then yeah, 1 more per turn. So here we get something like 4 culture from it, and then we get 9 culture from it or something. But I think it's also somewhat understandable that he accepts it because it looks more likely. If we just look at this, I might even not have a tactic. Maybe it looks more likely that he plays a war against me. And maybe Kushantri is more of a threat to winning the game for him than me then. And then those 4 extra culture are just valuable. So yeah, I probably wouldn't have accepted it in his position, but I when I offered it, I thought there are some very valid arguments to accept it. And yeah, this is obviously one of the big upsides of having a tactic like this. Fortification is very efficient, and if they don't see it until this situation, they cannot really gauge my strength potential very nicely. And it is actually going up to 30, so I still lose 5 signs here. It's annoying. It means I can't go for air forces. But I still keep all my techs, which is important. I did play an Impact of Progress at some point, which looks pretty good for me. And I could still go for Rifleman if the age doesn't end until then. And then I could also still copy his tactic here. I get access to Dietrich, and I of course had some iterations where I played Dietrich instead of going for this cannon. But in all of those iterations, I am just those 3 strength weaker, and that makes a big difference. Then I can't go for Rifleman. I do potentially lose Code of Laws. Did feel awful, so I only lose 2 culture here more or less, and nothing else. So I still there was then a bit of a question: if I don't elect her now, is there maybe just are there maybe just better cards? There's Patriotism, which is still super valuable. Maybe even the Reverdier then enables me to go for Air Forces after all. Um, but I thought this is the better, um, yeah, overall approach because Dietrich is just also so good for him civilly. So it is more or less as good as the Patriotism militarily. If we look at this closely, he can only build 1 cannon right now, which does mean he can only go for 1 tactic. But there are 2 things that enable him to build 2 cannons. One thing is the patriotism, and the other thing is actually not enabling him to build another cannon, but make it count for the tactic, and that's Dietrich. So then he only needs 1 cannon to fulfill another tactic. It is also a difference for strength for a war. Yeah, with the wall, the cannon is worth 4 strength, but still, then also culturally, she is super valuable also for the Hollywood, for impacts, and so on. So yeah, overall, I decided to take her because also there are no other leaders that still do anything for me. This Gates is too late, doesn't do anything. Yeah, Churchill could have maybe been an option, but I wasn't too happy with this. So yeah, I think it's a reasonable decision between those cards to decide for Marlene Dietrich. And yeah, going towards the last turns, it's still more or less true what I said 2 or 3 turns ago, is that everything looks a bit equal, but I do have this small culture lead. which can easily be overcome by good wonders and good impacts. So maybe I'm in a good spot, but far from certain of anything. And now it's interesting to see, first of all, does he have the follow-up war, and who does he target? And he does, and he targets Dantes. And I was very happy, obviously, very relieved. And a bit surprised also. I think in all my calculations, it would be super. Well, actually, I didn't really precisely calculate it because it wasn't necessary yet. So, or not that much. Yeah, I calculated some things, but I'm a bit lazy with those things. I actually didn't really precisely calculate my maximum strength. I only calculated that if he goes for follow-up war with me, then I can more or less barely defend it. And he knows that. Even with the cannons, but I also still then, if the H doesn't end until then, can go for the rifleman and copy the tactic. And then I have a lot of rocks available. Maybe I can even win the war because his strength is fixed. He didn't get air forces, but I think that also makes not such a big difference since he has no MA. So this was always more or less the strength, this 52. And yeah, I think if I copy the tactic, I might even surpass that with Dietrich. Or it's super close. Let's say one of those two. And yeah, okay, he has this information too. So he has to go for the guy he does not have the information about. Dantes doesn't have that many rocks. He does have the military build-up for the full value. It's 10 rocks, so he has 19, but that's all. And it can happen that the Air Forces doesn't drop. And I don't even know if he would have enough civil actions. Yeah. So we know my potential is almost equal or even higher, and his potential is a bit questionable. I think there's more or less one tactic only that can save him, or two. To be fair, it's that he has still the classical army here in hand, or the shock troops, and gets access to Air Force probably. And I think even then, um, it doesn't surpass the 52. So yeah, it's super understandable that he targets Dantes here. I was happy about it. For a moment, a bit surprised, but yeah, if we look at it closely, then it's a very reasonable decision here to go for him. Impact of Wonders revealed, it's a bit worse for me. And we see, like, I talked about a bit of a lead, but it's only 5 culture here. So yeah, now it's very interesting to see what can Dantes come up with. He goes for the rifleman, reveals shock troops, does have the several actions to go for the air forces. Yeah. Yeah, that's brutal. Like that is brutal. That is definitely his nuts in the 48. Strength potential here. And that actually means it's close, but we do see the Himeji Castle. It actually means Dantes wins the war. But still, the German saying is true. I am very happy because they hit each other. And he didn't have time to get a wonder. It's definitely better, would have been better to him to take a wonder than yeah, having to do this. Even build a computer, take a wonder. That's definitely more than winning the war of a culture after sacrificing something. So still, the game is not decided yet, I think. I reveal an Impact of Harmony, which I didn't have information about it. I actually get 20 out of it compared to 16, which is very nice. And this penultimate turn now was still super complicated. because there are super a lot of considerations of how greedy or how safe I want to play it. And there are some aggression scenarios here that are possible that are very complicated. So I really had to think a lot about this turn. Yeah, electing Dietrich is always true, and now I have to ask myself, do I want to defend aggressions and how many? And if I want to defend only one aggression, which one? Because you might think it's super obvious that I only have to defend one at max, because you will obviously sacrifice to win the war, and then you can't play an aggression against me. It was also very close, because if you could do it with a warrior and win the war, you can only tie it. If you could win the war with a warrior, then you could also still attack me with this exact string, that's 47, and then, yeah, attack me with an air force. Yeah, and if I lose like 2 aggressions or even one against him, yeah, he might realize that it's his best play not to sack in this war, but to keep an aggression against me and then raid me and destroy a lot of possible impacts for me and still enable a wonder for himself. Like, if he has a raid in hand, he could still build a wonder and would destroy my civilization. That would be maybe the one out that I don't win the game. Yeah, so in the end, there were some turns where I was a bit more greedy, and in the end, I decided I have to play for the conservative turn. And I think, yeah, once again, I didn't really start to calculate it too precisely. It's very complicated calculations. I don't exaggerate. Calculating these things precisely is super complicated and super annoying. I dislike that, so I try to play a bit by gut feeling at these situations. Yeah, but if you play this too conservative, then maybe you might still not win it conservatively. Yeah, it's also the flip side of that. It was maybe a bit more or less the case in one of the 4-player games, if you watched that I played pretty conservatively towards the end. And then Dantes did have the best available impacts in the deck, and then he won it. That's the flip side of this. So overall, I still thought it's a lot more likely to win this game with a conservative approach, and that means building 2 riflemen, so upgrading one and building one. In the greedy approach, I would only upgrade one, which would enable me to, yeah, copy the tactic. It would be 40 strength. That would actually, no, yeah, that in the greedy attempt, I would just bluff that I have 2 defense cards and can defend aggressions. That would be the thing. And then, yeah, there's all these considerations that in the greedy approach, it is more likely, obviously, that he just sacrifices for the war to win it. It's also maybe something first of all, he needs an aggression in hand. Then he also has to decide it in the war and not his turn. So he needs to think that far ahead. It's not his turn. So when it's his turn, he has to decide, do I sack or not? And then he has to see in this moment that it might be his best turn to keep the chance of an aggression versus me. And yeah, I'm also already losing all the threats. It's so complicated. But yeah, in some situations, I could have maybe, or even here, if he decides to aggress me, I will have to probably just let it through, depending on the aggression. Yeah. And then in the greedy attempt, if I sound confused to you, it's because I am. I'm not able to hold all the possible logical threads here coherently in my thoughts. But yeah, one of the greedy turns is not build this, but build agriculture instead, and that would make it able for me to build this entire wonder. But it would require then both of them not to play an aggression on me, both of them not to plunder me. Yeah, specifically the plunder. But I would draw 2 cards here, and as long as I also draw a second defense card, then I can also defend one aggression. Yeah, and then again, my gut feeling is that you won't even see it, or you won't even try it, or maybe also they also need to both have one aggression. So yeah, many ifs. In the end, I played it safe, and yeah, let's see if that comes to bite me. It did come to bite me in another game already. I am very happy to see this impact of science because I thought, yeah, that's one of the impacts that he would have played. And right now, if it was like here, he would also win it. I'm at 11 science now. But with having this in hand, there's a world where he doesn't improve his science income, and I can still win it with a multimedia. With the Yeah, it was also very happy for me maybe, and actually I did see it quite late in my tunnel analysis that there's this fast food chains available, which is such a better option than fast food chains. Did I say fast food chains 2 times now? It's the Red Cross. There's the International Red Cross available, which just costs food, not rocks, and gives even more culture, even if I only build 4 stages. Even if I only build 3 stages, they both can't even build a stage. That's also a plus. That's also maybe something I didn't initially see. So, but even if I build 3 stages, it's 18 culture, and if I build this for the entire value, it's 19 or 20 culture. So, I'm happy that I at some point saw it. I really thought about the turn a long time with this fast food chains in mind. Um, Yeah, and then with the greedy turn, I could have built it completely, which is then an extra 6+ all the colonies, so 6+ an extra 11 culture. Yeah, that's what I miss out for the second rifleman, which then again also only enables me to defend one aggression. Yeah, can you follow? I can't. Maybe I got all the arguments now, but is it too safe? Is it not? Because if we look at it, I can see some worlds where I'm not winning this game. I mean, the big upside is that I still do build a wonder here for something like 20 culture now, and he isn't able to do that. So, yeah, and he is now more than 30 culture behind. So it does look good for me, I think, and I think it's a very reasonable decision to go for the safe approach here. And it's still revealed. So yeah, okay, that means Dantes gets a bit closer here. It's only for culture, but the wonder difference. But impact-wise, there can be a lot of impacts still. I'm not, I'm decently set up for impacts, but definitely not perfectly. Yeah. Chantry dispense swordsman. He can, I think, only build one theater and build Hollywood. It's his maximum. So it's only 18 culture. Can get the military theory out. Develop multimedia. Dantes reveals impact of tech, which gives him 4 culture on me. Yeah, we see. Before this turn, he's even ahead now. Uses Ocean Air Service. Upgrades the warrior, but dispense a warrior, goes for a temple. So this is more like, I don't know, competition? Impact of competition, because he didn't contest strength now. He could probably if he wanted. Builds 2 temples instead, plays Ravadier, takes tax. It's a bit meaningless after impact of technology has been revealed, but yeah, that's the thing. In the last turns, there's always those situations. And yeah, there has been no aggression on me. No attempt even. I could have defended one of them. Impact of Progress, when I see it, was pretty good for me. Now it's equal. He also went for a lot of, yeah, blue text here still. Reserves. Yeah, spend some military, spend a mine. I can even win Impact of Culture now. That's also the yeah, power of the Ocean Liner service. And if you have seen my two-player tier list video, that's also one of the reasons why I dislike this wonder, because it gives a full value of a wonder and it just doesn't cost the rocks. So I can still do all the impact things and just get rid of my food for a full fast food chains value. Even better. Now 4 stages is already 24 culture. And if you get the 5 stages, like a Hollywood, a good Hollywood, not a very good Hollywood, yeah, it's just too good. It's just too good. And also this timing sensitive thing again, yeah? It was exactly here at the end of the game. Yeah, it's that exact timing where it doesn't cost anything to take this wonder. Yeah, still get the computers in hand and probably develop it, but I know also that it's meaningless. Why do humans do meaningless things? Who knows? Looks a bit better on the end screen. So now I do go into the impacts with some lead, but yeah, it's still, let's say, not a lead where I say I safely won. But yeah, with the impact of science in there, which I then was able to win, and even surpassing on impact of culture, I am very confident that this looks good. But there is a lot of impacts I'm not good at. It's like competition, strength, balance, industry, some more probably that I can't recollect now. Let's see. We see the agriculture. It was one of mine actually that I knew also is in there. Impact of science, which I have seeded. Impact of culture was in there, and I was able to surpass Dante's here at the end. So yeah, now it looks very good. Impact of happiness is full 16 for me, and finally there is the impact of variety, which is also super good for me. And in the end, it was the yeah. In afterwards, always easy to say it was obviously the correct call to play it more safely here. Um, yeah, but I also got punished already in the 4-player game. Maybe the situation wasn't as clear as here. It was a very interesting, intense game. All these games, all the other games, the other two games are still going on, are real brain wreckers, nerve wreckers in some sense also. And I managed to win it, which is super nice. This final screen doesn't really reflect how close the game was, I would say. Yeah, it was just one of the games where I don't know, it just some very small things snowballed super hugely towards the end. Yeah, also namely his decision to go war for against Dantes. I think I said when he got the multimedia and Hollywood, I think he had actually decent outs to play for that. Yeah, but I don't know. I can't really tell you now. It's a lot of ifs. If he had then a realistic chance to win the game, playing for this instead of this. This evidently didn't bring him any value and negative value, and still he's at 178. So it would definitely look a lot closer between all of us if he didn't attempt this. I can understand that he attempted it. It was also just, yeah, 2 times I think the literal nut flips against him. So he didn't have the information about my fortifications, and I had them. If I don't have a tactic there, this war of attack kills me. It's extremely good for him. Since I did have the tag, it didn't do that much. And then if he doesn't have the shock troops, which actually enables him to win the war, I guess a classical army would have also maybe not won the war, but make it very close. So yeah, still he faced the nuts tactic 2 times, and still I am not that certain if that was the right decision, or if not, maybe just go for all in Hollywood. Hollywood that is then, yeah, I mean, I won the Marlene Dietrich clip, that which also was pretty impactful between the two of us. He wanted her as well, obviously. Would have also bought good value also for the Hollywood. And there's an impact of culture you all at contests in the end with Dietrich and maybe two multimedia here. And then at Hollywood is maybe something like 40 culture and so on, so on. Here contests some other impacts better. Yeah, but I don't know. It's easy to say in hindsight. I can very much understand that he did this, and I think it also had good odds of securing him at least one position. At least. Yeah, but again, in hindsight, it's always easy to say all these things. Okay, that was the first game. 2 more to come. We can look at the standings. If I find the correct thing. Yeah. These are the standings now. It's the first 3-player game that has been finished. So I am of course happy to have won this. It's, almost brings me to that goal to stay within contention for the last 2-player round. But there will be 2 more games, and I can tell you these games are so hard. They are so difficult. I mean, this game also was so difficult until the end. That's maybe the most difficult round of Through the Ages I've ever played. Also, given that I actually do try hard here as much as I can. But I try also not to overdo it. When, for example, this whole calculation thing that I mentioned that I could have done there, I decided not to do it and go with gut feeling. Because ultimately, you then do a very, very, very complicated calculation. Um, and in the end, it's also often super close to the gut feeling, so it's not worth it. Yeah, so that's that. Maybe we can look at some other groups. Yeah, what do you think? If you want to stay for that, let's do that. I'm not spoiling the Weidenbaum group, don't worry. But some other groups who are not YouTubers. So just the upper bracket groups. We see here after 2 games, Maxim Potk from Russia won 1 game, 1 second place. Yeah, we see that. Yeah, especially this game is super close, and Martin Fischer ended up on 3rd position. Mayondor last. Maxim Potk second. Lander won it. And here Maxim Potk won it. Lander was last. So after 2 games, he's in a very good spot. Lander 6 points. Martin Fischer, somewhat surprisingly, only 2. But then again, yeah, that's only the 2 4-player games. I've glimpsed into these games. Very interesting games also. I can just suggest for you, if you are interested in Through the Ages content, to watch them also. It's maybe also somewhat not very unusual strategies, but outcomes surprised me a bit when I watched the games. And yeah, still almost everything possible, but it's a good lead for Maxim Potk. And Martin Perscher will have to fight. and all the others obviously too, to stay in the upper bracket. But it's all still possible. Then upper 2. What do we have here? We have Santipo, also with a very solid performance here. The games, yeah, especially this game looks less just from the results. I think I didn't watch them, or actually, if I did, I don't have the recollection of the games anymore. But this one looks very solid. And then, yeah, here's it's very close. Also with 9 points after 2 games, super good position in Slash Soldaria and Zadok, who again, many points are still to be distributed. So this is far from the final decision in this group, but it's already very, yeah, good position. I would prefer this position over this, surprisingly. And I think in upper 3 we have the case, unless it changed, that we have no game finished. So thank fuck I'm not in that group. Yeah, I hate this slow thing. I am so happy with this group. There's, some natural organic breaks in the games when people have hard turns, or, doing something in the normal life, like working. And then but there's a good pace. No one is stalling the game for metagaming reasons or something like that. And I don't know how this happens, but here, not one finished game screams like everyone is stalling the game for metagame reasons. So, yeah, that's it. See you in the next one.